afternoon, and welcome to the February 5th meeting of the Kiwanis Club of Birmingham. And I will personally guarantee that this is going to be more interesting than the Super Bowl. As y'all passed this today, I don't know if you noticed, but Scott Adams' mom passed away on Saturday, and we have a card out front. So if y'all get a second on the way out the door, please sign the card for Scott. I'm sure it'll mean a lot. And we also want to observe a moment of silence for our member, Jim Jacobson. Jim was the former editor of the Birmingham News, past president of our club. He was a Kiwanian for 39 years, and his daughter and my law partner, Jane Lamar, is a fellow Kiwanian. So if you'll join me in a moment of silence. I would now like to invite Bob Battle to the podium for the invocation and the lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you please bow your heads. God of all creation, we stand in awe before you, impelled by visions of the harmony of humanity. We are children of many traditions, inheritors of shared wisdom and tragic misunderstandings, of proud hopes and humble successes. Now it is time for us to meet in memory and truth, in courage and trust, in love and promise. In that which we share, let us see the common prayer of humanity. In that which we differ, let us wonder at human freedom. In our unity and our differences, let us know the uniqueness that is God. May our courage match our convictions and our integrity match our hopes. May our faith in you bring us closer to each other. May our meeting with past and present bring blessings for the future. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow, I knew Bob was one heck of a lawyer, but he's got some potential as a preacher. Bob, thank you. Bob is the founder of the law firm Battle and Win, which is, I've seen personally get a lot of amazing results. He's a Kiwanian since November of 2016, and he graduated of Yale College and Vanderbilt School of Law. I'd now like to invite our club secretary, J.W. Carpenter. J.W. is executive director of the Birmingham Education Foundation. He's a Kiwanian since November of 2013. He's a graduate of Boston College and Georgetown University Law Center. He's one of those few people who is really making a difference in Birmingham, Alabama. He's making it a better place.
Well, that was very kind. Thank you, Tom. We've got a few announcements. Yes. So that screen's not working, so I'm going to put it right up here. And so save the date, February 24th, 2 to 5 p.m. Family Fun Day at the McWayne Science Center. Bring your kids or grandkids or great-grandkids, any kids you can find, and gather up and come to us 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. I have a 3.5 and a 5.5-year-old. As you know, the McWayne Science Center is holding families together in this community because it gives us something to do rather than be in our house on a rainy day. So please come on Sunday, February 24th. We got our next Connect Over Coffee. The last one was very successful. Just an opportunity for networking and fellowship with your fellow Kiwanians. March 6th at Revelator in Mountain Brook. Drop in from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. So put that in your calendar. All right, so if you don't know about PARCA, you should. We're not just saying that because Ryan Hankins, the executive director, is one of our members. If you are looking for data on good government in the state of Alabama, you need to know about PARCA. They do a remarkable job gathering data, but they also do a remarkable job of sharing that data in a way that those of us that are bad at math can understand. February 15th is their annual meeting. It is always a terrific time. So a week from this Friday, it's right here, so it's very simple. So just show up here. You know how to get here already. And it's from 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Lots of great speakers, including the governor. But please definitely check out parcaalabama.org. Tons of great information on it. And then, of course, we just want to celebrate, continue to celebrate the Firehouse Ministries groundbreaking. As you know, we have several Kiwanians, including Felix Drennan, involved with the Firehouse Ministries. They recently just completed their capital campaign, and they're building this new center, which has the opportunity to really help engage the homeless community in Birmingham in an even more transformational way than they're already doing. Firehouse, just a great representative of the good work being done in this community and the good work being supported by Kiwanians every single day. If you have anything that you ever want me to announce up here, that's terrific. It helps me fill the time. I don't have to think of anything to say to you. We really like that, and there's so much good stuff that you're already doing. All we ask is that you send a PDF at least 30 minutes in advance of the meeting so we can get it up here. There you go. And so now we move on to guests. So when I say the Kiwanian's name, please stand up, and the guest stands up, and the Kiwanian introduces them. So Mary O'Neill, please model for us the proper procedure.
I'm very happy to introduce my guest, Catherine Brooks, who's at Prime K Inc.
Wonderful. Amy Aiken has a guest.
I do. I'm proud to introduce my friend Ashley Essex, who is gifting her talents as a kindergarten teacher at Rising Hope Academy, the first trauma-informed school in the state of Alabama.
Very good. And as a parent of a kindergartner, I apologize for everything you have to deal with. Bob Battle has a guest.
Yes, I do. I'm proud to have Brooke Battle here, who is the CEO of Swell Fundraising, which is an event fundraising software platform, and she also happens to be my wife, more importantly.
Meredith Calhoun has a couple of guests.
Yes, I do. First, I'll introduce you Ann-Laura Cook, and a little bit of a secret giveaway. You're going to get a better introduction of her next week when she's joining as a new member. But Ann-Laura is the medical director of Viva Health, among other things. Wait till next week. Please show up. And then my next guest is Becca Impello. She's the co-founder of PracticeWorks with me. We're business partners, and PracticeWorks is a co-working community for wellness practitioners.
Very good. Kate Todd. I have a guest. Where's Al Wood? Al is a frequent visitor to Kiwanis. He's the regional director of still serving veterans. So thanks for that good work, Al. Thanks for being here. Albert Finch has a guest.
My guest is Tim Hesse. He's a friend. He is a salesman at Concepts and Citizens. And doing things
Did I miss anyone? Well, one last group. Can we just, for all of our Venture for America fellows, do you mind standing and let's recognize them and all of our guests here today at once. And I turn it back over to President Tom.
Welcome to all of our guests. You may ask, well, why do they get Tom to stand back up here? Aren't we sick of him? And I'll have to say, my only guess, it's because there are certain sliding sartorial standards that our leadership has been modeling here recently, and I think they're trying to improve. So our panel style program today focuses on developing future entrepreneurs. We're going to learn about Venture for America, a national program with reach here in Birmingham, and how it prepares recent college graduates for careers as entrepreneurs. I'd like to ask Liz Pharo to come up. Liz is managing partner of Feathering Gill Capital. She has an MBA from the University of North Carolina's Keenan Flagler Business School and a BS in Computer Science from Birmingham Southern. And we're very grateful to Liz for helping us put together this program.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here, and could my friends come and join me? So, I guess it was about 3 years ago, maybe 2.5, maybe 3.5, I don't know, that I had lunch at Bottega with Sara Williamson, who's coming up. And I had heard about Venture for America just sort of by name. It sounds like Teach for America. I kind of knew what Teach for America, I know what Teach for America does. But I never like really got it. And it was during this lunch that she really explained to me what Venture for America is. And it was like this, I had this aha moment. And from that point on, I felt like it was the most important thing that we had going on from an economic development standpoint and a talent development standpoint in our city. And so when Richard was kind enough to offer me to get to speak, or ask me to speak, I said, hey, I actually want to talk about this other cool thing, and just kind of to use it as a platform today to let you know more about Venture for America. And so that's what we're going to do. You're going to get to meet some of the fellows and hear about their experiences and learn about Venture for America and why it's so valuable. And I hope I make my mom proud and don't say like or too much. She'll be counting them. But why is it so important? And Birmingham's a great place, but it's not necessarily the place that you want to go live. Or at least when I graduated from college, it wasn't, oh, let's go to Birmingham. There's just this bevy of opportunity, right? People who are going to Atlanta or Nashville or New York or, somewhere like that. And what Venture for America really does is instead of sending our best and brightest students straight out of Brown and Yale and Harvard and all those kinds of great places, instead of sending them to Wall Street to go, work all the time and, kind of earn a fee for moving people's money around, it actually sends these best and brightest people to Main Street America and into operating companies. And we open the doors for them and show them lots of different pieces of our operations. And we've actually had 2 Venture for America fellows that have been super successful and huge contributing members of our teams. And I'm very thankful for that. And the value that the hiring company gets is, these guys, the entry salary is $40,000 to get a top graduate. We had Arjun from Duke and Arjun from Brown. Ironically that they're both named Arjun, but apparently I can't wait for Arjun number 3 to go on, in a couple of years. So anyway, so I'm going to ask the panel to introduce themselves and say where they're from, where they went to school, and where they're working now. So Paul, let's start with you.
Sure. So I'm Paul Styslinger. I went to Yale. I am from Birmingham originally. One of the 2 current fellows from the Birmingham area, originally in the Birmingham area. And I'm currently in between jobs.
Hi, I'm Oliff, graduated from Washington St. Louis, originally from Chicago and worked at Alabama Power.
I'm Arjun, Arjun number 2. And, I initially joined Momentum Telecom, and then now work for Liz at Federal Capital. I'm from Los Angeles, California, and I went to Brown.
Hey everyone, my name is Ying from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Went to school at UNC Chapel Hill, go Tar Heels. And now I work for Regents Bank.
Hi, I am Abby Guerin. I'm actually Director of Birmingham for Venture for America. I have taken over Sarah's role in the last 7 months, and I am actually from Auburn. I went to Vanderbilt, and I came to Birmingham in 2003 and got my master's in counseling and my MBA at UAB.
Sara Williamson. I'm the Vice President of Programs for Venture for America. As Abby said, I once was the Director of the Southeast and supported Birmingham, National, and Atlanta markets for Venture for America. I'm from Greenville, Alabama, which is Butler County, and I went to Sewanee and then came back to Birmingham to get my MPA at UAB. And then moved away and came back to take the job with Venture for America about 2.5 years ago.
So Sara, let's just start with you since you were the founder of Venture for America in Birmingham. And just tell us a little bit about that experience and what it was like to kind of have your own startup here.
Yeah, so some of you may know Jared Weinstein. He was an integral part in bringing Venture for America as an organization, as he has been for many other nonprofits in the city, to Birmingham. And really, so he had initially, our founder of Venture for America kind of came down to Birmingham and said, no, we're going to pass on Birmingham. I don't think it's big enough or cool enough. We're never going to be able to get young people here. And Jared said, I think you're wrong about that, and sent him a 300-page document up to New York and said, I think you're wrong. And so they agreed to bring on Birmingham as their next market. And so initially we had 7 fellows in our first class, 8 fellows in the second class, and by the time I had gotten on board, it was moving, but we needed more partners, we needed more donors, we really need more company partners on board, and our ecosystem was really growing, and I capitalized on that opportunity, and we were able to bring in. Now I'm forgetting. I told them I'm rusty with my new role, but we brought in 18 my first year, and 16 last year. So as you can tell, we're growing 45 strong, which is pretty amazing for Birmingham, and it's been such a trip. And Abby's, already getting ready and geared up for this next season to bring us even more young talent to the city, and really continue to help our ecosystem grow. So it's been a pleasure.
Thanks. Abby, could you also just, I know I kind of briefly explained what Venture for America is, but in your words, explain what Venture for America is.
Sure. And you did an excellent job. So Venture for America is a national organization that is essentially bringing together startup companies in cities like Birmingham and Cleveland, St. Louis, Columbus, cities that often a lot of young college graduates, 22-year-olds aren't looking at. And people who want to do something, graduates who want to do something different. They want an opportunity to have an impact on a community and on a company very early on, and the opportunity to learn everything about how a company works, because they're looking at potentially starting their own companies, leading their own companies at some point in their career. And so Venture for America is specifically focused on providing economic opportunity through starting companies, creating jobs, helping companies grow and scale, like Momentum, and a lot of the companies that you've heard here, Pack Health, Shipped. So we've got a lot of opportunity here in Birmingham to attract really young and excited young talent here to the city. But Venture for America is essentially bringing together communities, cities, and young people into the same place so that we find synergies and really create a diverse pipeline that we might not otherwise have.
Well, and a commitment to the city too. So not only are these young people working in our businesses and making our businesses better, but they're also contributing in nonprofits and in our city, as well as a loose commitment to build up roots here, right? Like maybe they go to graduate school and come back and start a company here. Maybe they go straight from their fellowship, start a company, making companies bigger. And so, you can really start to see that economic development play, to have all this talent coming, like top tier talent coming to our city and wanting to be here and to really make a difference. This is kind of the future of Birmingham in a lot of ways, and that's why I feel like it's so important.
And I think just to add to that, if you don't mind, Liz, and Sara alluded to this, but I want to point it out to you. Venture for America is very intentional about the cities that we are in. We're currently in 14 different cities, and there is a reason why I am here, Sarah's here, representing the national office, is because we want staff here to support our fellows, and we also want to bring to them resources that not only help them succeed as young professionals, but help the companies here as well in the community too. And so we want to, we're constantly putting in front of them opportunities to get involved, like this, thank you. But we want to support that next generation of professionals here in the cities.
Okay, and one more thing that, and Sara, I'll ask that you speak about this too. Venture for America has not always been successful in every city they've gone into. And one of the reasons why I think we feel like Birmingham is so successful is because we appreciate this talent, whereas like an Atlanta or Nashville doesn't really appreciate them because they have other talent pipelines. And so I want to encourage every one of you here today to pass along the story of Venture for America, to get involved, to mentor a fellow. We need this in our city as a strong recruitment effort for talent. And so could you kind of speak to why we've been successful in Birmingham and other than the two awesome women at the end of the table, which are clearly, have made an impact?
So I used to support our Nashville and Atlanta markets, and last year we decided to withdraw from those markets. A lot of the reasons being like there wasn't really a need for talent there, and so I had a really difficult time fundraising because you can't really fundraise around something that people don't want. And so, that was a struggle. And it just wasn't, they were welcoming enough, right? Like we're in the South, and so, they're welcome to take a meeting with me. But there really wasn't that community that we found here in Birmingham. It's actually really impressive and not something that I see in any of our 14 markets across the country. And I think our CEO would speak to that as well. There's something really, really special happening here in Birmingham, and it's not just this kind of emerging ecosystem that I think we downgrade often, but it's like really impressive relative to some of our other markets. And I think that like the Birmingham community has really wrapped itself around Venture for America, the fellows and the mission and what we're trying to accomplish with this movement of diversifying this pipeline for our city. And it's just, again, I've seen it for now almost 3 years, and just to watch the growth from the first day that I got here and what we've been able to accomplish up until this point is really, really pretty magical. No comment,
Yeah, there you go. So in talking about, that's one thing that we're really doing right is all the things that she just said. And so now I'm just let's start to have a conversation with the fellows. What are we doing right in Birmingham? Why do y'all like Birmingham? And just, there's no order.
Well, I have a good example about how supportive and how strong the community in Birmingham is here, and that's the biggest value add to my life. As an example, a couple months ago, I was looking to transition out of my startup position. I started with VFA, Venture for America, with free textbooks, and after the 2 years, I knew that I wanted to stay in Birmingham but look for other opportunities. So then I was trying to look for different types of opportunities in Birmingham, and one of the most valuable things was how available business leaders here in the community were to having me sit down and have a conversation with them. Liz is a huge testament of this. I got coffee with her, and she was like, I need you to meet all these CEOs that I know, and everyone was so available to sit down, have these conversations with me, and I saw them help me move my professional career ahead. And I think one of the most magical things about Birmingham is everyone here is very hospitable, supportive, and they're literally rooting for the success of us as young professionals. And through those connections, I work for an amazing company now, Regions Bank. So that's been awesome.
I'd also add that, that like piggybacking off Ying's point, I think it goes both ways. The community here in Birmingham has been so receptive to us and has like opened the doors wide open that it makes it really easy, at least for me personally, to really care about Birmingham and feel that, right now this is home. And I'm trying to get all my friends to come visit Birmingham, and been pretty successful doing it. So I think it goes both ways. Birmingham's successful as a VFA city because I think the fellows really care about the city.
What I've experienced, so I work at Alabama Power, which is the exception to the VFA rule, working at a publicly traded, regulated monopoly. It's very different than a startup.
They're very supportive of VFA.
Yeah. They are very supportive. Alabama Power has been really supportive of VFA, and internally we have a policy of trying to work with startups. So there's definitely intentionality on the corporate level of helping startups grow and trying to give them business and make them connections that they wouldn't have if they're a 1 to 2 person company. So the community is rooting for other people in the community in ways that I haven't heard of in other VFA cities.
Paul, I'll make your question a little different. Since Paul grew up here, and Paul's sort of like you're like I forgot your sort of unofficial title, but you're like the pack leader, sort of, you know?
I've heard that title before.
Yeah, it's the wrong title. But then Paul, I think Paul's done a really good job of like, hey, let's all go to the lake and let me show, you know, I mean, you've been like the organizer, and I know a lot of other people have been involved in organizing things, but I mean, but you have as well. And but like, what did you learn about Birmingham that you did not know about Birmingham? I mean, how has this changed, you know, your experience of something that you thought you knew well?
Right. So I can confidently say that I would not be back in Birmingham so soon after graduating college if it had not been for Venture for America. I joined Venture for America very early on in the process. I loved its mission, loved the people that I met through the application process, and decided that it was the right fit for me. But I was thinking, I mean, I looked at Denver, I was really big on New Orleans and Nashville because I could maybe make some time to go to Lake Martin if I needed to, but I did not envision myself coming back so close to family so soon. And it was really the job fair that did it for me. We host, VFA hosts job fairs in various cities on a rotating basis. You get to meet a bunch of your future classmates or fellowship fellows, and you get to meet a lot of cool companies and explore the city a little bit with the existing fellows in leadership. So we went to Kerrigan's. It was a beautiful day. It could not have been a better weekend kind of re-exploring Birmingham. And I just kind of fell in love with it again. And I think a lot of people who I know who graduated high school about my time. I graduated in 2013. I think the Barons had just opened up their first season the summer before, or the summer after I graduated. I'm not sure on that timeline. But Railroad Park had not been open long. Good People had not been open too long. And things were starting to take off from kind of the entertainment and nightlife perspective. And coming back, it really changed. So for me, I really would not be back here if I hadn't seen the class of people that were coming to Birmingham. And I have loved getting to know Birmingham again and seeing all the good stuff that's happening here.
Okay. Hearing you talk about the application process reminded me, I have served as a judge, and I remember telling Arjun when I was getting ready to judge, like, I'm not really sure that I'm qualified to judge this judging process, because these people are, I mean, phenomenal, best in their class type. And he's like, I think you got it. But it is a pretty interesting process. One of the, I mean, like, let's get a fellow's perspective on that, and maybe Sara or Abby, will y'all set the table on how that works and some of the questioning.
I guess that's me. Is this on? Okay, great. I want to tell a little story about Paul, that really quick, just like a quick anecdote. I'm just going to go rogue for a minute. So Paul's right. Paul came to the job fair in Birmingham. I remember talking to Paul really early on. I knew his dad well. And Paul said, there's no way I'm coming to Birmingham. I'm going to New Orleans. I'm the director at the time. And so he's telling me this as I've like spent all this time putting on this like really large event. He's like, no, I'm not coming here. And of course he's really sweet about it. I'm just, exaggerating. And he comes up to me after the job fair, he goes, this is the only place I want to be. And I don't know if he remembers that story. But again, it's just like a testament to how wonderful Venture for America is. But so selection day is the final round of interviews, right? So this year we'll have 2,400 applicants. We will have about 200 fellows, so that gives you an idea of kind of the acceptance rate of individuals that go through. And all of the applicants that even apply are really just like the best of the best. And so we're looking for obviously very specific things. We're looking for individuals that have a lot of grit. We're looking for individuals who are really self-aware and are really willing to contribute and invest in communities like Birmingham. And again, that's not for everyone, and we can pick them out pretty well at this point. But selection day is the last round, and you go into a room as a fellow, as a candidate, and you sit in kind of like at a boardroom table with 5 people that you don't know, 5 other candidates, and you have a selection of judges that are on the other side of the table, and you sit there all morning and you go through group exercises, like building a bridge with straws with these people that you've never met before is like a great example. And so we take them through certain tests to see how they respond to like stressful situations. And then in the afternoon, they do a panel interview with all of the judges as an individual. So you could just imagine, you know, a 22-year-old sitting on the other side with 5 adults that are like leaders in their field, like panel interviewing them for 30 minutes just to see if they like this is what they want to do. And so it's pretty rigorous process. The end is as well as the beginning, but that kind of gives you an idea of what the selection looks like and how we got these lovely humans sitting up here.
Okay, let's get a fellas perspective on what was the toughest question or the most uncomfortable question asked to you during selection day?
Honestly, the bridge building sounds kind of silly, but trying to work in a group of 5 people that you don't know, whose skill sets you don't know, and you're given just like a box of straws and tape and asked to make a bridge out of it, I thought that was very challenging. I studied engineering in school, and the judges are like told to put on like this blank face, like be very serious. And I just continuously got called out for, you were an engineer, why did your bridge collapse? I didn't build things out of straws, so.
The hardest question I can remember was, and you go down the line, everyone has to answer, was who is the least self-aware person on the team? Which is brutal.
Some selection day.
I also had the honor of being voted, Arjun, I was friends with Arjun instantly, even though he didn't know it, because he voted me most likely to start a startup. That was another question. And then the next person voted me least likely to start a startup.
There's also like, who would you cut from the team, you know? And you're sitting there with the people that you just met that you're trying to like start a teamwork with. I mean, it's a lot of like, hats off to y'all for doing it. So anyway, I think another thing that I would love to hear the fellows, I mean, they're really the whole panel, but like, what have y'all learned about like success and failure since you've been, you know, working in like a lot of these like very gritty young startups? I mean, I'll tell you this, like, you know, I've known Paul for longer than through this VFA, and when Paul was going through, it was like, well, let's get Paul to work with us. And Paul was like, I'm not working at Momentum. Yeah, I think of Momentum as a startup. I know it had kind of grown past a startup, and he was like, it's way too big. And then I had another conversation with Tony Somerville, who, I mean, definitely at that point was in a startup, but maybe had like 10 employees or something at the time, and that was too big for Paul too. So, so Paul started with like number 3 employee, but yeah. So, I mean, and then you've got Alabama Power sitting here too, right? So, but I mean, I imagine that there's successes and failures inside of that, and a lot of what you learn about in business is learning from your failures and learning what makes you successful. So let's hear about what you guys have learned in the past 2 years.
For this question. That's why they keep looking at me. So the company, the startup that I worked for, technically failed, and I can honestly say that I've learned a lot more from it failing than if it became like this massive company. So yeah, that's it.
What did you learn?
What did I learn? I think when you're working at a startup and it's not doing great, you can easily pinpoint like certain parts of it where you're like, for the last couple of months while I was working there, I started listing things about what I would do when I started a startup, or when I start a company, or how I would manage people. So when communication goes AWOR, or when people aren't on the same page, or any type of those nitty-gritty stuff, like when your company is failing, those are so prevalent. And yeah, I took those kind of little tips, and hopefully when I decide to start my own company, I will use those to avoid those same mistakes.
team has been really successful, I think, because we all know each other really well and appreciate what each person can bring to the team. And as a first job out of college, I never realized how important it was the people you worked with and the relationship you had to them. So I can attribute a lot of that success to this like gelling that, quite frankly, is kind of random. You don't really know when you're interviewing for a job if you're gonna really bond with your coworkers, and I'm so thankful that we do. Around failure, I've realized that oftentimes our situation is a little bit different. When we hit roadblocks, oftentimes people say, well, we've never done that before, that's why we can't do it. And working on an innovation team, we are challenged to convince other people that that's not an acceptable answer. We have to like think through this and think creatively about ways to overcome and don't be bogged down by the system that has been created and been around for decades. So it's a lot of bringing people in and understanding how to think creatively so that we don't just kind of, oh, you know, we've never done it before, I guess we're gonna move on. So building relationships with people who might think differently about where the company should go.
Sure. For me, I had a wonderful experience at a company called Planet Fundraiser at the Innovation Depot. Decided to leave a few weeks ago for a variety of reasons, but through that process, I learned a lot about kind of the ups and downs of publicity and running a startup and raising multiple rounds. It was a fantastic experience, and in general, I would say most of the things about failure that I've learned have been very management or strategic, kind of for our business model. For us, there's always a hard tension, and it's especially difficult in Birmingham where everyone is so willing to help out and set up a conversation that it seems like the opportunities for your company are endless, and you can run around and try out all these different little things and continue expanding your revenue. At the end of the day, you have to follow that fundamental principle of focus on your product market fit, continue ruthlessly defining that. So staying strategically and geographically focused in our case was a big one. And then success is not about publicity, it's about what's on the balance sheet, I guess was another one.
Arjun, you want to share your successes and failures with your boss sitting here?
Actually, Liz and I kind of laughed about this. This might be a corny response, but we work, so Feathering Hill Capital is a private equity firm, and we make investments in companies. And we've had we've had a couple deals that have gone to like that 11th and a half hour and just kind of fell apart. And it's easy to think of that as a failure. I guess my point is that not all failures are actually failures. The corny part being that the phrase that some of the best investments are the ones that we don't make. So just being able to understand like the things that caused what might be perceived as a failure and be willing to just put your head down and keep working at it afterwards.
Good point. Okay, I think that, you know, if you think about Birmingham, and a lot of y'all have lived in Birmingham a whole long time, and as have I, and you know, there's just this energy that's going on in Birmingham that y'all have gravitated to, and hopefully that continues on, and like you were saying, Paul, I mean, there's, you know, all these great entertainment things, like Cahaba Brewing, not good people, but great parks, and you know, cranes all over downtown, and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot that's going right in our city. But like, what can we do to improve? I mean, because you're sitting in here with a lot of the city's leaders, and so like, you know, help us think kind of like with open eyes about our city, and you know, what you're seeing from your past experiences. You know, how can Birmingham get even better?
I have made it my personal mission to, whenever I'm talking to young professionals in Birmingham, I always ask them where they live. And oftentimes they live over the mountain in Mountain Brook and Homewood, which is an entirely acceptable place to live. But I think as downtown continues to flourish and there's more businesses, and there's more places to live. I think it's so important that young people are considering moving downtown where I live, which I love. I understand why that dynamic exists, because a decade ago people didn't even think about moving downtown. But I think like the lifeblood of Birmingham is downtown, and it's growing. And I want more and more people to consider moving there as well, just like me.
I think I've tried to talk to a lot of my friends about coming to Birmingham, coming to visit, and unfortunately, I don't think it's a secret. Birmingham and Alabama has a PR issue. I think part of that is, I think, addressing that and trying to embrace our history and use that as a stepping stone forward to change the image, I think would go a long way.
To that point, could I ask you guys to comment on how Venture for America has helped be a bit of a platform for Birmingham?
In what way?
Across the fellowship, across other cities, and inviting people here for Thanksgiving. For sure.
Well, one of the great examples that got Paul here was the job fair that we had 2 years ago. We had over 50 different college seniors come visit Birmingham, many of them for the first time ever. And I was talking to some of the fellows, and I mean, they were so overwhelmed by how hospitable Birmingham was, and how, I mean, honestly amazing their weekend was here. And I mean, we had some comments where they're like, Birmingham has trees? Like people go outside? Like for some reason, people had this thought that Alabama was a desert. And we're like, yeah, we have all these hiking spots. We have music, like live music every night. It's like we were telling them the quality of life here as a fellow is so much better than like the New York or DC where we're able to bring value to our work, 40 some hours a week, and then we invest the rest of our time on our friendships and our family. And I think Birmingham's ecosystem allows us to do that because we can prioritize the important things in life. On top of that, it's very manageable, so we're not like overwhelmed by all the events here, but excited when new things come up and can really get engaged in it.
And every person that comes and visits that we show a good time will go back and talk to their friends about how surprising and wonderful Birmingham was. And the more like positive word of mouth marketing that comes from people visiting us, the better Birmingham and Alabama will look.
So while we've had 45 fellows come through Birmingham, they have all been megaphones for how wonderful a place this is and how great a time they've had, how supportive the community has been. And I think a perfect example of this is this summer we have training camp during the summer for our fellows before they come to the cities. And I met two fellows from New York who I introduced myself, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're from Birmingham, that's awesome. They said, well, we're going to work for startups in St. Louis, but we've heard how awesome Birmingham is, and we can't wait to come visit. And so I think that is a great example of how transformative our fellows have been for their comrades that are coming out of these universities and colleges across the country. They've been just great examples of what we have here and the jewel that we are in the desert.
Okay, I've asked so many questions. How about some from y'all? Yeah.
What can the churches, synagogues, and mosques do in Birmingham to help y'all?
I think that's a great question, and you guys might want to answer that as well, because we've had, I think the opportunity for our fellows to get involved in all aspects of their life is really important. And so, if you guys want to add to that?
I mentioned this earlier, but one of the most important things for me here is the community, and a big chunk of that community comes from my church community. I go to Redeemer Community Church. namesake. It's in Avondale, and I joined a year after I moved here and was able to get involved in Birmingham in other different ways, more faith-based ways, and that's really been a huge reason I'm still here. So I think it's like the whole spiritual side can be another reason for us to stay and invest in the community.
I was interested in your comments that people enjoy Birmingham immensely when they come, and that's been my experience over the years. But I realize that part of that is that they don't have high expectations. So I'd be interested in hearing some of the misconceptions that people have about Birmingham that haven't been here, aside from the fact they don't think we have trees.
I can do some.
I was gonna say part of it is like a lack of any conception. I think before I visited Birmingham, I had no idea what it looked like. I had no idea that UAB was this massive research organization and the School of Medicine is one of the best in the country. I think people just don't know enough about Birmingham. People just don't know, especially if you've lived all your life in California or the Northeast. It's really easy to overlook.
And I think we kind of fall under the umbrella of misconceptions of the Deep South in general and everything that goes along with that. And I think that once we have the opportunity, and the job fair is a really great way to bring fellows here just to experience, even if they're not, they don't find jobs here, or they don't end up moving to Birmingham. I think having them come to the city center and see everything that we have going on is a great way to change that.